November 27th, 1910, was a day New Yorkers had been anticipating for nearly a decade. Pennsylvania Station, a monumental train terminal in the heart of Manhattan, finally opened to the public. The excitement was palpable.
There were throngs of people in the station that day. It was as if someone took them to ancient Rome and ancient Greece. I mean, they'd never seen anything like that.
Covering nearly 8 acres, the building was the 4th largest in the world. The main waiting room, which extended the length of 2 city blocks and rose 150 feet high, was comparable to the nave at St. Peter's in Rome, in both size and splendor. A French visitor openly sobbed, noted a reporter, because such a beautiful affair was just a railway station. Perched above the crowd was a statue of the man who had died bringing the station to life. Alexander Cassatt, president of the Pennsylvania Railroad, had defied legions of skeptics and gambled millions of dollars to link the nation's biggest railroad to America's greatest city. It was a rare example of a private investment that would clearly benefit the public.
Cassatt believed that he was performing a valuable service not only for his company, but a valuable service for the country.
The unveiling of the station represented the culmination of an unprecedented engineering project, the building of 16 miles of underground tunnels. 7 miles were under the Hudson and East Rivers, 2 of the busiest and most geologically complex waterways in the world.
When the Pennsylvania Railroad undertakes to build tunnels where nobody thought tunnels could be built, it's almost as though they're going to go to the moon.
The scale of this was pharaonic. It was huge. It was the biggest civil engineering project of its time.
Pennsylvania Station is one of the greatest symbols of monumental public space that any American city has ever had. It ennobles the acts of daily life. It makes every citizen feel important.
We were poor, we didn't have very much. My aunt said to me, when I walked into Penn Station, I felt like a queen because I felt as if someone had done that for me.
As 100,000 people streamed through its doors on opening day, a half-dozen granite eagles peered down on each entrance.
The eagles represented the Caesars when they conquered new territory. So here, Alexander Cassatt finally conquered New York, and he'd surround his station with eagles.
Yet what no one that day could know was that Penn Station, built for the ages, would last only a few decades. In July 1901, Alexander Cassatt and his family began the first leg of their journey to Europe by boarding a train in Philadelphia bound for New York. As happened every time he traveled to the city, Cassatt's train abruptly ground to a halt in New Jersey on the western shore of the Hudson River. There was no way across by train, an increasingly frustrating situation for the president of the nation's largest railroad.
Alexander Cassatt gets off into just total chaos. And what he and thousands of people are going to are ferries.
Every 10 minutes, a Pennsylvania Railroad ferry headed across the Hudson River, threading a gauntlet of ocean-going ships, ferries operated by other railroads, tugs, lighters, car floats of one sort or another. The congestion of watercraft on the Hudson River was becoming intolerable.
By the turn of the 20th century, New York had emerged as the nation's preeminent metropolis, rivaling the great cities of the world. Still, the Pennsylvania Railroad, which controlled over 10,000 miles of track extending through the American heartland, had no direct access into Manhattan.
For Cassatt, it was a matter of image and pride. New York City was not just the largest city in the country, it was the nation's commercial hub. And for the Pennsylvania Railroad to get so close, just 1 mile short of Manhattan, was to him unthinkable.
As Cassatt looked across the Hudson, he was reminded of his recent failure to solve his company's 30-year problem. A plan for a bridge across the river had fallen through when a consortium of competing rail lines balked at sharing the cost of the $100 million project. Cassatt realized if he wanted to get his line into New York, he would have to do it alone.
As Cassatt heads over to France, he's really, really disappointed. This whole plan has fallen apart, and they really have no fallback plan.
The Cassatts started their annual European holiday in London, then headed to Paris, where they visited Alexander's younger sister, Mary, who had built a reputation as an impressionist painter. While in Paris, Cassatt received a cable from his vice president, Samuel Ray, who urged him to investigate the new Paris train station, Gare d'Orsay. The celebrated train terminal had been completed for the Paris Exposition of 1900. The Gare d'Orsay's Beaux-Arts architecture impressed Cassatt. Even more stunning was the station's innovative use of electric traction and tunnels.
Cassatt is an engineer. He knows everything inside out about railroads. And he spends 3 days inspecting every aspect of these trains, the tunnels, the whole system.
What caught Cassatt's attention was that trains got there through a long tunnel, a tunnel that was smoke-free because those trains were pulled by electric locomotives.
Unlike coal-burning locomotives, electric trains did not run the risk of asphyxiating their crew and passengers while passing through long tunnels. Up to this point, they'd primarily been used for lighter trolleys. Now, Cassatt watched powerful electric locomotives pulled 300-ton passenger cars through a mile-long tunnel running along the River Seine to platforms below the station.
It was the idea of going electric, I think, that really brought all this together for Cassatt.
Cassatt envisioned his own electric trains, gliding through tunnels under the Hudson River into Manhattan. He cabled Ray that he believed this might be the solution.